what you don't understand in the process of like your path and your expertise, that you will only be able to take somebody as high as you have been able to experience. And you also can only hold space for the depth at which you've been able to navigate, right?
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Welcome back, Badass Manifestors, quantum coaches, beautiful, amazing human beings that are listening to today's episode. I'm so freaking pumped. I have one of my soul sisters on the podcast today. She is fucking amazing. Like in every single way, she is such a beautiful example of embodiment of doing the inner healing work. I have Lauren Elis Love here. She is a spiritual teacher and self-healing facilitator. She is the founder of the 6-month transformational program called Heal that focuses on helping women rewrite their realities and their relationships with themselves. And she has done this over and over again in her life. And that is why she is such a master at helping facilitate these truly quantum transformations for her students and clients. I'm so excited to jam with you, Lauren.
I'm so excited to be here. Oh my God. Can I just tell you, the way that you introduce is like so profound, like your energy, and like, I need to go back and listen to how you introduce all of your guests, because I just felt so honored in that moment and it made me feel really happy. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Love you.
It's all true. It's all very, very true. So soak it all in. Yeah.
Super pumped to be here and to have this I feel like podcast, when you're like friends with somebody, just makes it so much
better. Yeah, 100%.
Like there's
100%.
no list to follow of questions of like, oh, so in your professional career, like it's just like chill.
It's so chill. I feel like sometimes I get on interviews and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, but let's talk. So I'm really glad to know you deeply. Lauren and I have been connected for many years now, and you have heard her on the podcast before, which is exciting. Right?
I got to go back and listen to that one. Like, who was I?
Who were you then?
Who were you? Who were we?
So I know that you are pulling cards too. So maybe during this episode, when you feel called, just whip it out, unless you already pulled one.
No, I didn't pull one yet. I was waiting. Yeah. You want me to do one now?
Yeah. Pull a card for everyone.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Wait. This is fucking wild for so many reasons. I'll tell you later. The Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening.
I love that card.
Yeah, this is crazy because we were just talking about a story I really wanted to tell you on the show about the Akashic Records reading with Mia. And it has to do with Lemuria, which is fucking crazy that I'm holding this card. I'm not even kidding you. Oh my God. Wow.
On one of our trips to Sedona, Lauren had introduced us to this beautiful soul, Mia. Shout out Mia, who is an incredible Akashic record reader. So you'll get that story later. Stay tuned. And I know we're going to get asked what deck that's from. So it's from the Rebecca Campbell.
Work Your Light Oracle.
Work Your Light Oracle. It's my favorite. One of my faves.
Yeah, I go through seasons with my decks. Do you You're
Yeah,
that way too. Yeah, like
definitely.
sometimes, but I have one. Do you have like one that's like the deck?
Yeah, it is. And it's a Doreen Virtue deck.
Which one?
Ascended Masters.
I don't have that one. She went super Christian, right?
Yeah,
And
she like went off the deep end in some way.
yeah, but I
We
love,
still love her decks.
I know I still use her goddess deities was really good for me for a while because I was studying with activating different aspects of my feminine. And so the whole card is just feminine goddesses. And I would pull a card and be like, okay, this is the energy of this type of woman that I need to like cultivate. And that was a really cool study.
I love how you refer to these things as studies. No,
It's
seriously.
it's really funny because everybody laughs at that now. I was coaching somebody. It was at the Sedona retreat I ran, and one of the girls was like going through something around like a dysfunctional relationship thing that was playing out, and I was helping her like process it. At the end, I was like, yeah, it's just like all a study. And she's like, there it is again, like the study, but it's so
It's
true.
true. It's so true. It's like even if we would look at it as like a training, some like my network chiropractor, spiritual healer teacher, she always says, you're in training. You're always in training. And I feel like it's similar. Like
Oh
you're
man.
studying.
Yeah, I think it makes the experience of life and how you interact with it quite different when you have that approach, because you're training for something great, or you're studying to become a master of something. And it's like that alone, if it's the study of how you communicate with your partner or, how you communicate and have a relationship with your business or your friend, like
Mhm.
there's an outcome that's more of a higher frequency. Do you get what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just give everyone who doesn't know you, I feel like a lot of people probably do know you from my audience, but for those of you who don't, Lauren Elis Love, you have had such a profound transformation in the last few years. And you have gone from being, $1 million business owner to giving that all up
Mhm.
to heal yourself.
Mhm.
And now building everything almost from the ground up.
It makes me really emotional.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I think because we're having this conversation and I've had this conversation with people on podcasts a little bit this season. I'm like coming back in and sharing this story, but to have you holding space for this dialogue when you've been there every step of the way, it just makes my heart so like, like I'm just bursting. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
bursting because it's so inspiring, like everything that you've grown through, like your study the last couple years.
yeah,
So can you just let us in on that for a little
sure.
bit?
Yeah. So, really, I don't really know where to start, and I'm still kind of like integrating all the pieces of it because it was it was very intense, like it still is. I'm still going through an intense process, but it really felt like this initiation into the work that I'm doing today. And so I was like, um, I think my whole path of entrepreneurship started because I had a lot of suffering in my life and I wanted to, on the other side of that, help people. It felt like, God or the universe or spirit, like, why do these things happen to you? So you could just like pat yourself on the back and be like, good job, move on, like didn't make sense to me. So, I started entrepreneurship, helping people overcome the challenges that I had gotten through, but I also at the same time was ignoring a lot of my own inner trauma and suffering related to those experiences that I had, specifically my sexual trauma, as a teenager. And I was very much on this path in my entrepreneur career of the more money I make, the more worthy I should feel, the more successful I must be. And it was just this never ending game of trying to chase a ladder to feel really good. And it was never enough, you know? And at the time I recognized I had these like mental health patterns going on. Like my relationship with my husband, we didn't communicate properly. Like there was a lot of weird shit, Twilight Zone-y shit. And I don't know if you've ever been there with your partner, but like all that was playing out. And my health started to deteriorate really bad. And my parents were going through a really destructive and dysfunctional divorce. It was like my whole life around me was just like shattering, but I was making $80,000 a month, you know, and my health took a really bad turn. And at that time, I started to explore plant medicine. And it was almost like the prayer of sitting with ayahuasca was opening up at the same time as my health challenges were getting more and more serious. You know, I went from being able to function to not getting out of bed for a whole week, 18 hours a day, being unable to shower, having a skin on fire rash all over my body, being unable to walk up a flight of stairs or even drive a car because my vision was so bad. All of it was my trauma coming out because I was no longer on antidepressants because I was studying with plant medicine. And so these things were kind of all happening at once. And I abandoned my business to really heal myself in a prayer out of desperation, and realized through all of that that my purpose was actually to help people heal. And I was being like initiated for all of it. So I had to go through the thick of it and build an entire foundation from scratch. And that's what I've been doing over the last year. And now here we are with the Heal program. And it's been really beautiful. We've had 89 women go through the process of Heal. And yeah, it feels really awesome. wait, hold on. And
wow.
This is what Matt would say here.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
That's my story. And that's my story.
And that's your story in like a very, very, very condensed version. But I just want to like go back for a moment and just tell a few stories in your story, and acknowledge you so much for being that brave to walk away from that money. I think it just goes to show that like money does not equal happiness.
No.
And that true wealth really is your health and your happiness and helping others ultimately, right? But it's not money. But just to circle back. So when Lauren and I went on a girls' trip to Austin, we all ended up watching this documentary. And the documentary we watched, I can't remember what it's. Oh, The Truth of Reality or something.
The Reality of Truth.
Oh, The Reality of Truth. And it was about plant medicine. And at that point, I think all of us had or hadn't dabbled in ceremony with mushrooms and things of that nature, but never ayahuasca. None of us had done ayahuasca at that point. You didn't do it at that point, right?
No. Nope.
Right. So after that night, we watched a documentary. I remember Catherine being like, let's go to Rhythmia. And everyone was like, let's go. And so that trip was such a portal, because I feel like for all of us, it just was like, I'm using my hands right now, but I'm doing like a small circle with my hands and then making it bigger. It was just like whoosh. And everyone, we just like went down the rabbit hole together. And every single one of us had a journey that started from that point, a new journey. And it's wild if you think about it. It is absolutely wild. I'm sure some of you listening have had those moments in your life where, you know, certain experiences change everything, change the whole trajectory of your life if you allow it to. And so that was just like one of those moments that I just want to like honor, because it was huge.
It was huge. Like that.
I had no idea.
That I can go back on my timeline for all of this and identify that's where it happened.
Yeah.
That's where it happened, because, you know, months before, to be able to go into plant medicine and coming off all of the medication for me, and also looking at my growth and what happened there for me, but what happened for you and what happened for Jen and Catherine and Stephanie, like it's crazy.
It's right. It wasn't just one person. It was all of us.
That really speaks to the power of those sacred sisterhood portals. Like, you do it right, makes a big impact.
It really does. I mean, yeah, you all have changed my life in so many ways. So that was a big moment. And then on another trip that we went on in Sedona, it was our first trip to Sedona together. We went to a cafe. It was called Chocolate Tree Cafe. And we were sitting there and and we were told that someone was going to play music at our ceremony that night that we were planning.
Yes.
And we were very protective of our energy and we're like, no new friends. Like, we're like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. And then all of a sudden, this girl, Cassidy, enters the cafe. Do you remember this?
I will never forget this.
Yeah, Cassidy enters the cafe and she sits down. She's like glowing. Like she is like goddess glowing. Skin is glowing. Her energy is flowing, all of it. And she sits down and she was the one who was going to play the instrument. And it turned out that Jen and I studied NLP with Cassidy. So we knew her. And she's telling us her crazy story about how she healed her Lyme disease and all this stuff. And we were like, oh my God, Lauren needs to meet you. And you were on a call outside. So we get you come back, you and Cassidy kick it off. And you're like, yeah, you were like, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just like wondering who I was on the phone with in that moment, because keep going. This is the moment.
Yeah. And before this, Lauren was talking about bee venom therapy because I think at that point you had just got diagnosed officially with Lyme's, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you were like processing that and you were looking into it and you were like, bee venom therapy, this whole thing. And Cassidy comes in and she's like, yeah, I healed through bee venom therapy and combo ceremonies and all these things that you were already aligning with, but didn't actually know it because they were in your frequency. And then you guys connected on it. And I'll let you tell the story from there.
Yeah. So this is crazy. Like this is the moment where like everything just shifted. So a little backstory on this is like my entire plant medicine path, for a certain, not the entire path, right? Because I've sat with other medicines, but both with ayahuasca and both with combo, right? Combo medicine. Catherine said to me, I think this will be good, right? Like that. And when I saw like Catherine was saying, I was like, yeah, okay, like I'm going to do that. Right. And until then, bee venom therapy felt like something that I didn't trust. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. But also what's really important to note from this moment is like at the time, I was getting really desperate. Like I was on, a lot of pharmaceuticals to treat Lyme disease. Because sometimes this is what happens too. Like, I know we're not talking in depth about chronic illness, but for anybody who has this like really random experience of chronic illness, mine was Lyme disease. It was Lyme, Babesia, Borrelia, and anaplasmosis. And I had to spend thousands of dollars to get testing done because it's not something that we can really have in Western medicine for a number of stories and reasons. But what people don't identify is like with chronic illness is also a mental experience. It's like you feel like you're going crazy because nobody's listening to you and there's something wrong. And you're also feeling waves of depression and anxiety and disconnect and suffering on a regular basis. So my body was suffering, but my soul was actually really suffering. I felt like I was under attack, you know. Cassidy was the person who was going to play music at our ceremony that we didn't want in the space, right? But she was also somebody that we didn't know you knew.
Right.
And when we looked up our phones together, Cassidy and I were both at a table 2 years ago at a lunch, and we actually, storied each other and tagged each other. And I looked at her face and she was an entirely different person. Like she glowed, she glistened, she laughed and smiled, and I could see her aliveness. And I was like, whatever she's doing, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I literally went to Sedona full time. That was after that. And she was sitting with combo regularly and sitting with bee venom therapy regularly.
Every day.
And it was incredible. And so I decided to do those things too, and also study with ayahuasca more in depth, and found that the real source of everything that was happening within me was actually trauma that I hadn't, my body was in fight or flight trying to release something, you know, and that coupled with a really big lack of self-respect in relationship to food, and relationship to, you know, how I was really numbing my body with sugar and processed food and making myself sick in that way as well. So it was a lot of different things. But yeah, that changed everything. That was when I went to Sedona full time and abandoned business and just focused on getting well.
And it's just, I wanted to bring those things up because there is so much divine synchronicity in your whole journey, and how, you know, things are always presenting themselves to us. And it's just a matter of us being open to seeing it as that divine intervention that's trying to come through.
Yes.
And as unwell as you were, you started to realize at some point that this was like you said, your initiation. This was your initiation to your next level of purpose of what you are going to be teaching. And like the thing that you were going through was the medicine then that you were going to be able to give back.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that a lot of people look at what they are going through in their life and they give it the meaning that says, I am not certainly at all qualified to help somebody navigate their problems, their issues, their concerns, because look what I have going on, right? And that, I can't tell you, of all the students that come into the Heal program, if they are a business owner, that will come out of their mouth in some way, shape, or form. I have so much stuff. How can I possibly help somebody? But what you don't understand in the process of like your path and your expertise is that you will only be able to take somebody as high as you have been able to experience. And you also can only hold space for the depth at which you've been able to navigate, right? So it's like my path. I think there are a select group of light beings out there, right? Like whether or not you are walking around, I don't tell people, oh yeah, I'm a light being, like there are some people like that. But if you just have the association in your mind's eye that there is something very original about you, and there's something very sacred about your desire to want to actually help people in some way on this planet, right? Then you're going to be initiated into that. And that looks like going through hard times to be able to figure out how to get out of them so that you can bring people with you. So, for me, like I feel like that's my path. And I was teaching people how to create a lot of revenue in their businesses, and I enjoyed that, but I became very angry at that because I knew that wasn't the answer. And so I knew I had to go deeper into my messaging and figure out what it was I was meant to do. And I was sitting in a combo session because I was studying with combo really in depth in Sedona, and I was purging something around my lack of embodiment in my work. And my teacher said to me, he's like, you just have to figure out what it is you want to do, Lauren. And he walked away. And I was like, oh, that simple. What do I want? Because I didn't know what I was going to do with my business, right? I had no idea. And this whole vision of this program came. And then my next ayahuasca sits, I kept bringing the prayer of like trying to figure out what it would look like to my sits. And this whole program came out, and it was like, none of that makes any sense. This is my legacy, this program, because it's so effective. And I feel like I would not be able to be embodied and appreciative and in my certainty around that had I not been through this whole process that took me to birth this, right? So yeah, it's crazy.
That is so powerful.
So crazy. So yeah, so
Wow.
if you think like your timeline makes no fucking sense, just
Yeah.
wait, okay? Just wait.
Well, that's something that I think about all the time. Time, right? Time as far as really trusting in your journey, man. Like just because you make a lot of money right away and then like and then it's not sustainable, that's part of your journey. Or if you make it consistently and then you get like, I don't know, everybody's journey is just so different, and all of it's part of your initiation to where you're headed.
Yeah. And you got to be able to hold the prayer of like, even if you don't really understand it, like
Right.
it's all on purpose. You know what I mean? So take a little solace in that, kind of, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, I'm sure that was hard for you to do in your like darkest moments.
Yeah, it was so hard. Like I went through you know, the financial consequences of doing that, and I went through the fear of credibility and like, am I good enough to be able to show up and do this? It was a long
Mm,
study, and I think I just got to experience a lot of what um other people go through, you know, the feelings of like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm enough for what I want. Like I went through all the initiation around that. It's so, yeah, it's
uh,
crazy.
a couple questions that are coming through. One is, I want to clarify what combo is because we've been talking about it. And
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have listened, hopefully have listened to my combo episode. And so you might have an idea. And then also, if you could just define, what does it mean to heal?
Yeah. So,
Very different questions.
yeah, which one should we do first? We'll talk about combo.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're healing on three energetic planes, right? You're healing like your physical body, which also means your 3D reality. So like healing your relationship with money, your partners, etc. But we're also healing our relationships with our emotional system and being able to know how to navigate anxiety, how to navigate stress, how to navigate a nervous system jump, right? Um, Shifting our weight, shifting our health and our frequency. And then we're also in the emotion, and then we're also on the spiritual plane, right? So we're operating those three places, and healing's about being able to get to a place where all of those things are operating in a fluid, harmonious, balanced, vibrant way, right?
Mm.
Your connection to spirituality, which means you know how to have faith, you know how to pray, you know how to pause, you know how to trust. And then being in a blissful state of life, and feeling that. And then also having life be really fluid and peaceful and harmonious too. So that's healing. And the problem is that some people will address things on just one of the planes and
Mhm.
think that life's supposed to get better. They're not actually navigating the rewrites of these three dimensions at once. So nothing lasts and everything's kind of, out of alignment. Combo is a medicine that allows you to heal all three through this idea of a physical purge in the body, a spiritual experience in a sacred ceremonial setting, right? And a lot of emotion, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you move through all of that. And it was a very powerful medicine for me on my healing journey, not just because it really cleansed my body, but yeah, it just changed my life. Changed my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. And combo is a frog medicine. It is from the Amazon.
Yes.
So the tree frog secretes this poison to most of the other animals, all the other animals, right? In the
Mm.
kingdom, except humans.
Yeah. Yeah. So the frog, because it is considered poisonous by its sort of
Secretion.
no, just to correct the language on that, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not poisonous to us, but it is poisonous to like all the other animals in the jungle, right? We have
Right.
different relationship with it. So it does excrete this sort of like milky slime on its back. And the Matsis in the jungle, when they were very sick and going through very difficult times, they relied and went to Combo to purify, right? And so they put the slime on their skin, they burnt holes, and then these tiny little marks, really small dots, and then they applied the medicine, and it activated the lymphatic system and flushed out all of the toxicity that they had. um, it was something that had happened after like when all the Spanish came in and they were attracting these new diseases and they didn't know what to do, they got a message from spirit that said, go do this. And so that's how this began, and everybody was cured in the jungle. And now
Wow.
it's
Cool.
used
I
as a
haven't heard that.
cleanse.
That's
Yeah. It's a really beautiful medicine. And it's being used a lot. And there are a lot of dangers to just, for people listening on this episode, like, you want to go and sit with combo, please make sure that you're studied in like good facilitation and you ask the right questions, and that the medicine is properly harvested, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff you want to pay attention to be in right relationship with this work, and keep it sacred. Some practitioners are just out there doing it to just flush your body, and it's not the same thing. The
it's
spirit
so
of the
much
medicine,
more.
it's so much more. Oh my gosh. So yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
just be
Thank you for
mindful. Yeah, but that's combo and that's healing. And yeah, does that make sense? I feel like I answered
yeah.
those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important because I think a lot of people just think, like you said, that healing is a physical thing. I know I did when I first started. And there's so much, it's so much deeper than your physical body. It's like you said, emotional and spiritual. And yeah, it's really powerful that you framed it like that. Cause I think a lot of people just don't know. They just don't know what they don't know, truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I'm sure maybe you relate to this feeling as well, but like when the body is the thing that's like very painful in front of you, it's often what we pay attention to try to fix, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like you try all the things, and eventually you have to realize there's a different path that you're being led down. And that is, I want to speak to this too, because like I think this is a very important distinction that's coming up that I just feel like needs to be honored. Healing doesn't look the same for everybody, right?
Mhm.
For me, it was a very deep knowing that plant medicines were my answer, right? And the pursuit of the depth of that, that is, I'm studying now. Like, I'm in a prayer to continue my work with these medicines, and not everybody's path looks like that, right? For some people, it's I'm really called to this medicine once. For some reason, for some other people as well, not some other reason, for some other people, it's different. It's like, I found breath work, I found spiritual prayer, started meditating for 5 hours a day. It's so different, and it can be small, it could be little, it could be a lot, but like it has to be a piece of your puzzle. Um, yeah, and like the idea of natural versus not, right? Like that's the other thing too. Like, be careful of that, because, I was talking to a sister a couple of weeks ago. I'll just share. She was trying the natural path to heal her body for a really long time, and she wasn't getting any answers. And her whole family is very healthy and is all about holistic, holistic, holistic. And she felt this deep amount of shame that she would have to explore this other path, right? The lesson in her journey is self-compassion and love and acceptance of what's in front of her that feels right, and pursuing that. And you can't be attached, is what I'm saying, to like how it looks. Does that make sense?
100%. And I felt that way on my journey of for so long wrestling between trying to get pregnant naturally and being attached to that outcome versus going through IVF and exploring what Western medicine has available to have our baby. So it's similar in like,
It's like,
yeah,
it's identical, and it's like
yeah,
crazy because there's a lot of polarity in that from on our journey. Like, it's almost like it's just very similar in so many ways. It's like the acceptance, the love, the removal of old stories to make space for what you really want. Like, that's really where the work lies.
right. Like that is the healing. Like making those choices for yourself is part of the healing, making those decisions for yourself away from societal decisions or programming or family programming. Like
Yeah.
that's part of your healing, is in that decision making process of like what you're moving forward with. Eastern, Western, doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Oh
So
my
good.
God. This is such a good conversation. I'm like loving this. It's
Me
tripping me
too.
out.
It's so good.
Oh
So
my
good.
God.
Well,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. It's true, right? It's all mirror.
Wait, can I tell you this? Can I tell you about this Lemuria thing? I think it's a
Yeah.
good time to talk
Yes.
to. Yeah. So when we were in Sedona, the first time we met Cassidy, right? And that was a cool portal. I was doing venom therapy, right? Combo, ayahuasca, went to my long study in Sedona, left my whole life and just went deep. And the second trip I was there and you guys were coming, right? Like you all came.
Yeah. We
And
were.
oh my gosh. Yeah, we got readings from Mia, Akashic Records. We got one too, right?
Yep. It was
We
awesome.
we have to talk about what it said because what she said to me was that I was from Lemuria and that at one point Sedona actually was Lemuria. And it's funny because if you look at this card, it looks like Sedona
Whoa.
in just different colors, but it was covered in water. That's the difference. So all
Mm.
those drought spots, right? Like this is all the water that was here. She said, yeah. And in that lifetime, you're a medicine woman and you facilitated these things, here on these rocks. And like, you're going to do that again one day. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like she told me that I was going to be facilitating plant medicine. I was like, you're fucking crazy. I just was like, all right, she's sweet. And she told me that she saw sunflower in her visions, which was my favorite. It's my favorite flower. And then a couple of ceremonies ago, this girl gave me sunflower seeds in ceremony, which was so fucking wild. But anyway, she predicted that. And then I ended up facilitating these experiences and now I'm facilitating combo. And it's just like really wild. What did her say? Do you remember what she told you?
It's hard to remember right now. I just remember feeling one of the things she told me was really cool about my mom, how my mom and I have traveled lifetimes together and we've traded roles and all the things and like we're gonna be together forever basically. And I'm like, yay. I,
I love it.
I remember telling you that. Yeah.
Yeah, you and your mom have such a special relationship. I honestly feel like when I watch that on your Instagram, it inspires me so much. Like to see the loving relationship that you guys have and like, yeah, it's so cool.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
love it. I
We've
love
worked very hard on it, but also like I can't get away from her and she can't get away from me. So it's just,
it.
we just have to learn to get along.
Yeah, my mom and I've been growing too, and I think that's the really cool part of healing also.
Yes.
Like when you're healing, like my mother and I have gotten so close compared to the way that we used to be. And you're even an expander for me of like where we're going. And I have that knowing.
Cool.
But I would have never thought that we would be the way that we are. And it's really because I've focused on my own self-healing and rewriting my dynamics with like what happened with my mother and my father and rewriting my dynamics of what needs I didn't get and what stories I told about what that meant about me and like like the unwinding of all of it. So I think it's so important for other women to see healthy relation. It's an expander, like you can have that with your family.
I'm so glad you brought that up because as you do the healing work, you are healing your lineage at the same time. And I've seen that in my life. And I felt that through just meditation, through like healing lineage and healing the womb space and all of it. And even being able to like have conversations with my mom. And I'm sure you have started to have some deeper conversations around certain beliefs of like deep unworthiness runs in my family. Like it is like this deep rooted feeling that you're not worthy of having whatever it is that you desire. And so in my line, there's a lot of self-sabotage. And
Mm-hmm.
so healing that and being able to express that to my mom in a healthy way where she doesn't feel like, oh yeah, just blame all your problems on me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you feel unworthy, so it's my fault, basically. She used to take it that way. When I
Mm-hmm.
would tell her like, oh, I don't feel good enough, or these are things that I'm exploring within myself. And, I realize it's from my childhood, or I realize it's from the womb or whatever. She used to take it so personally. And I think now that I've healed some of it, she's not taking it personally, but she's just like cheering me on of like, yes, amazing. That's so true. Validating the feelings. And I feel like it's bringing this deeper level of healing to our line. And like, especially before I have my children.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, right? Like the fact that that's happening is such a reflection of where your frequency is moving, like if you look at that, that's really awesome. Bringing your child into the world while you're also healing your relationship with your mother, while your business is booming, while your relationship's deepening, right? Like, woo, like that's so juicy. And yeah, it's like when you are healing that expression, when you're healing yourself, you're healing for 7 generations backwards and 7 generations forwards. And, you may not be able to see all the pieces of that, right? Maybe you're not some people are very deeply connected to their ancestors. Yeah, I have a particular spirit that like I kind of am building a relationship with that I think is like maybe one of my ancestors, but you might not have that, but what you have in front of you, you'll watch move. And it's really cool because it's not just, this is what happens when you finally accept your parents for all of the flaws that you have watched them play out, and you see them as just a fucking human being that's really actually trying to do the best that they can.
They're just in their own study.
They're in their own study. They got their own fucking path. Yeah, like 100%. Then they're forced to look at themselves and like, now they're detached because they're like, oh, my daughter loves me. Okay. But what do I have going on here? Right. And like, then they have to start doing their own work, and you'll see it play out on a spiritual level where what you're doing is actually changing them. And then you also see it in this really beautiful way where they're actually doing their own work and it's starting to open. It's very beautiful. Some people get frustrated with their parents that they don't move fast enough, but have patience. Everybody has their own timelines. And like also too, you may have a contract with your father, where you're not in this lifetime. There's supposed to be distance, there's supposed to be separation, right? So it's also about accepting and understanding what's been brought to you and for what purpose.
So beautifully said. I think that's a great example for anyone in your life that you feel isn't growing fast enough or getting it fast enough, because I'm kind of experiencing this right now. And I have to ask myself, and my teacher said to me yesterday, why do you feel the need for this person to have to do that thing in order to make you feel safe? Right? It's like we need people to be and do the things that we want them to be and do, because we think that that's best for them, but ultimately it's what we think is best for us.
Well, yeah, I have it. That's such a good example of this, like in a really trippy way. But it's really about this story that like we don't create our own safety. Like
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything that you want, if you don't have it, it's because you don't feel safe. Let's explore that. Right. And like sometimes you have to also feel safe for a while before it comes in. And there's like the whole study of like the in between of that, and holding it. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, I think that I think this conversation could go in so many different directions. I'm like tripping out by all of the timelines that I hear in my head. It's fucking wild. Okay, take me back. Take me back, Ashley.
Well, we're just talking about safety. And I think that is like probably like we could wrap it up on that, because I feel like ultimately everything goes back to feeling safe.
Yeah. And when we're trying to change somebody,
yeah,
right? Like that's because we have a story that they have to be a certain way in order for us to feel safe.
Yeah.
We've nailed it. We've nailed it.
We nailed it. And it's like the space between where you are now and where you want to be is your opportunity, whether it's in relationship to somebody else or in relationship to something like physical that you're desiring. It's just your opportunity to get like really good at feeling safe in that space that you're in while you're waiting for it. So
yeah, I had a deep realization around this that I wanted to share because I think this was like a really powerful study for me. I had a friend who like didn't respect her things, and it was really annoying to me. And when she started to ask me if she could borrow certain things of mine, I was like, well, she's going to break it. She's not going to respect it. She's going to do this. Why can't I just say no? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could just say no, but I have a story that other people's needs are more important than my own. And so that's when that nasty little voice starts to come in and get like you get annoyed with yourself, you know what I mean? Or annoyed with them too. Um, yeah, but like if I gave myself permission to speak my needs and to be at peace with expressing every desire I have, right? I'm safe to do that, then I can create a really beautiful reality where I'm in harmony with everybody and I can let them be who they are and embrace them for who they are. And it's just, so it's a wild study of like letting down your own boundaries and speaking your needs, but keeping boundaries too.
Your needs is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Todd and I are working on that for like, well, he's working on that for him in his life, his needs. And it's just interesting because I feel like it's a study that we all have to go through.
Yeah. And it's very weird because like the learning of it is sometimes very wonky. Like, like I went through a period where I had no fucking idea what I needed because I had spent so long not asking myself that question. I became so unfamiliar with myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't know. But that study and time away from business where I got to like distract myself from business to be really focused on me. Yeah, it just allowed kind of all of this stuff to come through. It's like in the space, you got to give yourself space and downtime to really do your own work. That's like so important. So important.
So my question for you is, if somebody is listening and they are new to this, they're new to this healing concept, they know that they want to heal deeply, physically, emotionally, spiritually, obviously join Lauren's program because that's going to help you just exponentially, grow and heal and step into so much for yourself. Like I can't even put words to it. But where would you say, like, what is a good inquiry for them to ask themselves of like what the next step is?
Yeah. So it's really simple. I love this question. I'm really happy that it was asked because I do think that, yeah, there are probably so many people that are like, I have some work to do on myself. Like, where do I start? Yeah, I think the first step is to really ask that question, like, what is your heaven on earth, right? Like, let's go back to this freaking Oracle card. Painting a picture of what it is you want in your life, like where are you going? That's the first most important step. Where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want life to look? We were talking about this before, like what are you living for? Like really important. But once you know that, then you can ask the question, what's stopping me from doing that? And you can say, oh, well, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or move those aside. Okay, what's stopping you? I don't know the answers, right? Or I don't know the steps, or
what if it's just like, I'm sick and I don't feel good?
yeah. So if it's I'm sick and I don't feel good, you want to start exploring. First of all, from my perspective, the body needs to be relieved, right? Like that's obviously everybody has a sense of urgency to heal what's going on in the body because it's so distracting. Like it's very hard, right? So if health and vitality is your heaven on earth, the body tends to really hold a lot of toxicity within your system. And so taking time to detoxify is very, very important. Like I see you drinking your celery juices all the time. And I'm like, yes, Ashley, that's freaking amazing. But find ways where you can start to get some of this stuff moving out of your system, and also focus on your diet, cleaning up, like please stay away from sugars, stay away from hydrogenated oils, stay away from anything that you open the package and it's not, when you read the ingredients, something that's made from the earth, right? Like that's protocol. Makes a huge difference because that's a whole other topic. But what's really important also is that you look at whatever emotional manifestations you're carrying, because that's really the doorway to peace and heaven on earth. Because you could feel, a little bit puffy because, sugar, you had cake last night, right? Off. Or you can like just be a mess all the time, right? So if you can navigate a way where your emotions are calmed down in peace with that, that really goes a long way for how you navigate your body. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but we have to really look, I think like we have to look at what we're feeling, and we really need to ask, what stories am I telling myself that are playing out? What are the thoughts I have about my life and about myself on a regular basis? And if most of them are annoyed, depressed, frustrated, unfulfilled, blah, 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 angry,
Yes.
anxious, right? You have to look at asking, where is that coming from? And many of us, those are actually patterns that are playing out from childhood that are being recreated in almost this like subconscious robotic way, right? And it's the reason that that's happening from my perspective. I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm sorry, but this is like so
Sorry, not sorry.
okay. So the reason that's happening, if you look at dysfunction that plays out in the body, chronic health issue, this is the forefront thing that's coming to be looked at, right? And when you go underneath, it's deeper, and it's wow, I have like emotional trauma, and I'm playing out unworthiness. I don't think I have a life to be happy about. I'm not really happy about my life. We see like these depression patterns, right? And their experiences where we've disconnected, even if it's anxiety playing out or like low vibrational thoughts about yourself, whatever it is, it's from a childhood experience. Like that, where did that start? Right? When did you start telling yourself you weren't beautiful? When did you start telling yourself you weren't smart enough for what you wanted? When did you start telling yourself you can't have what you want? Right? Where does this shit come from? Because this is what's causing us to not have the happiness that we really desire. And if you go through hypnosis, where you go back, like I walk my students through like the inner child meeting the higher self,
Mm-hmm.
and in memories, specific memories where things have been like really messed up, and you can you talk to your inner child, and calm her down and love her and tell her what she needs to hear. And it's very emotional, right? But that's the work, like uniting your inner child and you, and rewriting the relationship with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm getting too like deep in the rabbit hole, but it felt really important to share.
I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did, because it kind of does give you also an inside look at some of the ways that you can heal inside of Lauren's program.
Yeah, or inside your life, like spend
Inside your
time
life. Yeah.
yeah, like spend time uniting with your inner child,
Yeah.
talk to yourself like you're the mother, and just be gentle. Oh, you're having a bad day, sweetie. You have some bad thoughts. It's okay. Let's, go for a walk. You can do it. Like whatever you
Remothering, reparenting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And we were not treated in certain ways as children, so we don't know how to treat ourselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like a reparenting thing. And when you get to do that before you give life into the world, that's so cool.
So cool.
It's so cool. So yeah, yay for us. We're doing such good work. I feel like you've been through so many similar things too, like rewriting your internal belief system around what you want, and um acceptance.
Mm, so much. So much of that. It's a journey for sure. It's a
Mhm.
freaking journey, but it is so worth it and so profound. And if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling called to it, do some of this work that Lauren shared. Do some of these questions. Really dig in and
Can
see if it's
I
there for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share too that like I think the real moral of this story too is like what's coming up for everybody listening, like not to be afraid to do your own deep work while you are on the path of helping others, because you're studying for your PhD, right? Like this is it's perfect when you're figuring things out too. It's making you more of an expert. So yeah, not being afraid to really explore that, and also not being afraid to explore like the things you want to do in this world that make your heart race and feel uncomfortable. Like, I think that, yeah, we have to be a little bit brave and like sharing what we've been through and talking about our struggles and being vulnerable. And, if that makes your heart race, like, that's cool. You're going to inspire a lot of people.
I was just talking about that with Stephanie, of just about like the things that make you feel uncomfortable, leaning into them.
We have to. Yeah. What makes you uncomfortable, Ashley?
Oh, so many things. Well, in California, you'll appreciate this. I was talking about going to the Lisa Vanderpump restaurant, like that restaurant Pump, that famous have you watched her show, Vanderpump Rules?
No, no.
What? Okay. Lauren and I watch a lot of the same shows, but obviously this is not one of them.
I'll add it to my list.
But I said her name like multiple times, like Lisa Vanderpump, Lisa Vanderpump. And what do you know? I was in Neiman Marcus and boom, Lisa fucking Vanderpump. Oh yeah, I texted you guys.
No, Stephanie, I didn't know. I didn't know who she was, but Stephanie told me about this too. She said that you didn't go up to her.
I didn't go up to her. My heart was racing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm Googling. I'm like making sure it's her. Her husband's like almost, you have to, like, you would recognize him, like, if you know the show. And so I was like, that's definitely her husband. And so she started walking away and I was like, excuse me. And she didn't hear me. And I was just like, damn it. I just wanted a fucking selfie. And it's so funny because Luke, Stephanie's husband, I got to meet him, which was awesome. He was like, Ashley, imagine you went up to her and you were like, I manifested you. And like how cool that would be for her. And like how, just approaching it in a different way of saying, like, I said your name multiple times and I literally manifested you right in front of me. And I just want you to know how cool that is for me and for you. Like, I don't know. I was like, man, that would have been so great if I would have said that. So here's the thing. We can't rewind. We can't rewind. We have to step out of our comfort zones and do the things that make us feel really uncomfortable. Because
wait, what did that experience teach you?
Yeah, it just taught me like, I have nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose. So, okay. So I was afraid of rejection in that moment. Like maybe she would have, shunned me or been like, no, I'm not Lisa Vanderpump, or like whatever the fuck she would have said. Like I could have been rejected. And so I protected myself from that rejection.
Wow.
Yeah. So deep learnings in a small moment, but also I learned about manifestation. When shit like that happens, it's like the ultimate manifestation of like, okay, I was totally detached. I knew I could go to her restaurant if I wanted to. I didn't have this deep desire to meet Lisa Vanderpump. Like, it was just like, I said her name a few times and then she materialized in front of my face.
It's insane.
Like, what does that mean?
That means you're super powerful.
I'm just like, okay, I'm aligned as fuck with Lisa Vanderpump.
Were you in like a really high state that day?
Yeah.
Were you, like,
I was. I actually like bought myself a Cartier ring on Rodeo Drive.
No,
yeah,
you
girl.
didn't. Oh yeah. My God.
I was like pumped up. But yeah, that's a pun, but like
I get it.
I was pumped up and then I met Lisa Vanderpump. So,
oh my God, that's crazy. I can't, you know what? I cannot say hi to famous people because I get so weird. Like I
get starstruck, really starstruck.
I turn into like an awkward teenager. And I think that's maybe like a trauma I have to go back and revisit. Cause I'm like, did you follow like bands when you were a kid and like go to concerts?
Yeah.
Who did you go see?
NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. I mean, such a fangirl. It's funny because I wanted to meet NSYNC so bad. I would dream about meeting them. Like I would do anything to meet them. Like I was desperate to meet them. And I want to hear who you met. Later in life, I ended up doing this like Price is Right live show in Atlantic City. And who was the fucking host? Joey Fatone. And I got to meet Joey Fatone. I was like, I've been manifesting this for years.
Oh my God.
Who did you like?
I loved the Hanson brothers.
Oh, the
Oh
Hanson. Yeah, I
my
love
God.
Hanson. Yeah.
I loved Zach. Zach was the best. I think that's why I like the drums so much, because when I was so obsessed with them. And I loved NSYNC. And I also had the Dream Street phase. Did you have the Dream Street
Dream
phase?
Street. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my friend and I, they were like the UFO who wore the UFO pants? Was that NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys? I can't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember. I think Backstreet Boys. I don't know.
Well, anyway, we bought them and we like made and learned all the dance moves and like recorded videos and stuff. Oh my God, it's so funny.
So fun. So fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like we could just talk all day. Literally.
I know we could. Well, we have to come on my podcast now.
I know. Okay. So Lauren.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful wisdom with us and your beautiful light and your energy and your story. So where can everyone find you, connect with you, and stalk you out?
Yeah. So I have, oh my gosh. So first of all, on Instagram, Lauren of Love. I really like to hang out on Instagram. It's super fun for me. And then I also have a podcast, the Lauren of Love podcast. There are some episodes about plant medicine, healing, and all of those things. So if anybody wants to go deeper, and I would say start there. And then the heal program is laurenoflove.com/heal.
Check her out, follow her, share with her what really resonated with you, and share with me too from this episode. Would love for you guys to tag us. And yeah, if you need anything, Lauren's here to support you on your healing journey, and she's really, really, really good at it. So super grateful to have you as my soul sister.
I love
besties.
you.
And it's really, really cool when you meet your besties from the internet.
The best. It's the best. Okay.
All right. I love podcast. You. Yes. Okay. We're going to record for her podcast. So you got to go listen to her podcast as well. Yeah, you already announced it. Okay, cool. All right, everyone. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Woo. We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.